Hello, I'm Byron. This is a review of the book Rebel Rising. So it's not very good. It's decent. I wasn't actually going to read it, but I ran out of Star Wars books, so now I'm reading it. The main problem I had with it was that it seemed to be filling in the gap at the beginning of Rogue One just for the sake of filling it in. It started with Saw picking up Jyn, and ended with Jyn getting rescued. Although I don't even think I think it did skip over the part where K2SO rescues her, and just skipped straight ahead to her meeting with Mon Mothma. It was an audiobook, which is a bit harder to pay attention to sometimes. But yeah, the one thing, the best moment, spoilers, this is sort of a spoiler review, but I already said don't read it, so there's no reason not to hear some spoilers. And also there's no major plot points in the book, no major turnarounds, nothing that you wouldn't expect. So as spoilers go, this is probably the biggest spoiler in the book, but I wouldn't care if someone had told me the spoiler. That's all I can really say. And that is that she finds herself working on a slave ship, and she jettisons all of the people running the slave ship out into the vacuum of space, I think. Again, that was part of it's an audiobook, and that's part where I sort of phased out a bit. But I'm pretty sure she jettisoned all of the slave masters into space. And the slaves are free. And I realized that giving a negative review of a book to you that you didn't pay that much attention to maybe not be okay. And there was, so that was good, and I thought, and it would have been better if that was the story. It didn't just, it's not just something that occurred on her journey between Rogue One and between the beginning of Rogue One and the very next scene. Between those two scenes in Rogue One. It'd be cool if that was the story. And we heard that maybe it starts sort of very similarly to Rogue One, and it starts with the scene where Saw actually abandons her a lot, the same way her mother and father did, sort of. And then Saw winds up abandoning her the same way, and that could be how this book opens. And then she goes on this adventure, and then the adventure ends, maybe with her arrest. That would have been fun. And throughout the book, I was saying this, they have a lot of scenes, and the scenes of her on Wobani on the detention camp are interspersed throughout the scenes of her between being abandoned by her parents, or her parents being kidnapped, and her getting arrested. And when she's arrested, and you could have worked this into the story about the slave ship. Well, not necessarily. I guess you couldn't have. But the next adventure, it works just like a series of adventures rather than one connected story. Her next adventure after that, or maybe there was one in between, I don't remember. These were the only two that were memorable, and none of the ones with Saw were really memorable. And the relationship with Saw wasn't that developed, although he keeps calling her his daughter, and of course, obviously, she's not his daughter, they're different races. And it sort of alludes to the fact that nobody believes her because of that, but it never outright says it. Then, what was I about to say? the final adventure, the one where she winds up getting arrested. Spoilers, but I already said spoilers. She thinks something. There was nothing to do with this adventure that was noteworthy. It's just one thought she has at the end, where she says, I don't remember exactly what she says, but she says something like, if I was going to get arrested anyway, I would have done it for something, for a purpose, which sort of leads into her actions in Rogue One. How she goes from someone who's been abandoned by two different sets of parents to someone who can sacrifice her life for the galaxy. And that was an interesting arc, and it was in the last 10 chapters of the book. And all the rest was sort of boring. And then back to on the Wabani camp, and I think this instance on the Wabani camp was inserted into the book at the point after she's been arrested anyway. Someone asks if she's a rebel, and she doesn't answer. And she considers all of her actions and wonders whether that makes her a rebel, or whether working in a more organized way would make her a rebel. And she turns and she doesn't answer. Well, it's a little vague. It may be that she didn't answer, or it may be that the book just didn't tell us what her answer was. It says she turned to the wall, and then the scene's over. She may have turned to the wall and then answered, and maybe we're supposed to just assume she turned to the wall and stay silent, but she could have answered and it just not told us. But maybe I'm not supposed to read it that way. So those were the 3 parts worth reading, and it does have a fun arc right at the very end, and but overall, not very good. Thank you. Bye.